everyone, and welcome to another episode of Her Side, His Side. I'm Dr. Carol, and what we're going to talk about this time is how to attract the perfect relationship. Now, that might sound like an impossibility. If you're watching this, you're probably single, and maybe you're not. Maybe you just want to make your relationship better, but this is mostly for the single people who maybe you're divorced, maybe you haven't gotten married yet, but you just want to find that right person, and it probably feels impossible. I know how that feels, trust me. You may have seen some other of my videos and maybe not, but I am divorced. I've been divorced for quite a while, and I got divorced when my boys were like 3 and 5 years old. And so it was really difficult to try to figure out, how do I move on, and how do I find the right person for me? Because anyone who's gotten married before thinks that's it, right? Like that is your person and you will live happily ever after, because that's why we get married, right? Because we want to live happily ever after. But unfortunately, as we know, lots of times that doesn't happen. And so what do? Do you give up? I know I've felt like giving up. There were times that I thought that maybe I would never find the right person again. Maybe I would be alone forever. And you might be feeling the same way. So this is what this episode is about. Like, how can you attract the right person? But, it really starts with you. So that's really my first point, is you really need to know who you are. Now, I know that sounds silly, because if somebody says, well, who are you? You'd say, well, my name's Carol Morgan, duh. Well, that's not what I mean. When I say know who you are, I mean who you are deep down. Like, what are your values? How do you feel about yourself? What are your standards? What are your deal breakers? What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What kind of people do you like being around? What are your passions? Like, really, really knowing who you are. And it's easier said than done. It seems like once we get to be adults, we should already know who we are. But unfortunately, I know a lot of people who really don't. They're still really searching. They don't really have a clue who they are. And that's okay. It's probably more normal to not really know who you are than to know who you are. But the problem is a lot of people don't know who they are because nobody's ever asked them. They're so busy maybe trying to be who someone else wants them to be, like who your parents wanted you to be, or who your husband or wife wanted you to be, or what society tells you to be. But we very rarely sit down and think, who do I want to be? Who am I? Who am I? And so in order to really figure out who you are, you need to spend time with yourself. I know way too many people these days who are so busy, and it's understandable. We have lives, we have jobs, we have kids, we have friends, we have family, we have obligations. So it's not surprising that you don't spend much time with yourself. But that's when you get to know yourself. In fact, I know a lot of single people who are very extroverted and have a lot of friends, and that's great, but they're always on the go to the point where they're almost afraid to be alone. Now, why would they be afraid to be alone? Well, maybe you can relate, maybe you can't. But they're afraid to be alone because they don't like to spend time with themselves, because it's scary, because you have to get to know yourself when you're alone, right? So it's not scary though. You're probably a really awesome person, and you may or may not even know it. So you really need to get to know yourself, get to love yourself. And once you do that, you're going to be really on a step closer to having, the healthiest and more perfect relationships. So knowing who you are is key. And that's the first thing you need to know. Second thing you need to know is know what you want. Now that might sound easy too, right? How can you not know what you want? We all want to win the lottery, right? We all want to be rich and beautiful and famous, or whatever it is. There's some common things that people want. But what I mean in this sense is not really, oh, do you want to win the lottery? No. Who do you want in a person, in a partner? Who is your perfect partner? Again, that sounds easy, but most people I talk to don't have a clue. When I say, okay, what do you want? Now, let me use an example that is not based in relationships, but besides doing, dating, coaching, and teaching in the classroom at the university level, I've also done some training for businesses, some communication training. And whenever I go on my first meeting with them, they know they want communication training. That's why I'm there. And so I say, well, what kind of communication training do you need? And they're like, deer in the headlight. I don't know. And I'm like, why don't you know? Like, you work here. These are the people that you lead every day. Shouldn't you know what your problems are? I don't say that. I always say that in my head, but I'm like, okay, so they know they want communication. They know they need help with communication, but they don't know what. Okay, well, as a trainer, how do I give you what you want if you don't know what you need? I can't. Do they need help with conflict management, with listening skills, with small group communication, management training? They didn't know. So it was really, really hard for me to tailor any kind of training to them when they didn't know what their problems were. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because this is kind of how the universe works. Now, in some other videos, I'll talk about law of attraction and energy and how the energy you put out really attracts the same kind of people, but that's besides the point. So knowing what you want is everything. If you're just kind of like, well, I have no idea, well, how can the universe give you what you want if you don't even know what you want? So, like, for me, what I did was I wrote down a list of qualities of what I wanted in a man. And by the way, I did find the perfect man for me, so there is hope for you. Trust me. I'll tell you that story some other time. But I wanted someone who was emotionally intelligent, who was intelligent in the regular way, could have deep conversations, someone who was outgoing and friendly and social, and someone who was loving and affectionate and honest and like a person of his word. So, I mean, I had a long list, maybe too many things on the list, but nonetheless, I did find the perfect man for me, and so can you, perfect man or woman or whoever you're looking for. But you first need to know who you want, what you want. If you don't know what you want, you're never going to find it. I mean, if you don't know what you want, he or she could come walking right up to you and look you in the face and you wouldn't even know it. So get really clear about what you want. Another thing that's really a huge obstacle for most people is that they don't love themselves. They don't think that they are lovable or worthy of love. Now that's silly. Everybody is worthy of love and everybody is lovable. Everybody has good qualities, right? I mean, unless you're like some serial mass murderer, well, or maybe you don't deserve love because, you're a horrible person. But, for most people, most of us are pretty nice people and we do deserve love. And so you need to work on why you love yourself. Look at your good qualities. And another video, I'll talk about that. You are a good person. You have a lot of good qualities. You need to love yourself because love is a vibration that you put out. We feel good when we're loved by other people, right? Of course, and other people feel good when they're loved by us. But why does it feel good? It feels good because love is a high vibration that really, people are attracted to. So my point is when you love yourself, you're putting out this positive energy to the men or women that you're dating or trying to attract, and they want to be around you. They want to be with you because you love yourself. If you love yourself, they're probably like, well, they must be pretty cool because they really like themselves. And if they're cool, then I want to be around them too. So, you need to work on loving yourself, knowing why you are worthy of love. And that is huge. That's huge. I mean, all of this is important, but that's very, very big thing. You also have to remember that, you know, a lot of people think that other people treat us a certain way for whatever reason, and or we are a victim of it. So somebody yells at us, somebody calls us names, somebody isn't nice to us. Well, we are the poor victims. Oh no, poor me. That person's a horrible person because they are making me feel bad. Well, you know what? You are not a victim. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but you need to teach people how to treat you. That's a tongue twister. Teach people how to treat you. And we do that accidentally because let's say you are feeling unlovable. You are lovable, but let's say you feel unlovable or unworthy. Well, that's the energy you're going to put out, and that's the behavior you're going to accept from other people. So if I don't think I'm lovable and I'm not worthy of a man loving me, well, then I'm going to accept any bad behavior, right? So if a man, you know, calls me names or mentally, physically, emotionally abuses me, well, I'm going to accept that because I don't think I'm worthy. But when you love yourself, if anyone tries to treat you badly, you're going to be like, no, 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 no. That's not happening. I deserve better. I deserve a lot better. So once you love yourself, you will then teach people how they can treat you, and you will draw that boundary. And any little misstep, you know, they're not going to go over that stuff because they know you won't allow it because you respect yourself. There have been many times in my life, you know, like, I'm not going to go into this huge long story right now, but you know, there's a time when I was dating and there's a guy who was really, really wishy-washy and flaky, and you know, he broke a date. Well, not really broke. He tried to break a date on like the third date, I think, and you know, I had a babysitter there, and I was like, dude, you know, don't do it again. I really liked him. But I had this really bad feeling that he was flaky and that he was just going to keep doing this flaky, horrible stuff, like cancel dates at the last minute. And I was right. You know, I said, don't do it again or it'll be the last time. I mean, I wasn't like bitchy about it. I'm like, you know, don't do it again. And he did it again, of course. And I'm like, sorry, dude, this isn't going to work out. He's like, oh, no, please give me another chance. I'm like, no. Because if I gave another chance, it would happen again and again and again and again, and then it just would have been like a lifetime of annoyance for me, right? And that was not going to happen. So, you know, I drew the line early, and I just decided, you know, that guy is just not compatible with me. It's too bad because he was a lot of fun. I really liked him, but, you know, I just had to draw the line and teach him that he could not treat me that way. That's okay. You know, we just didn't go out anymore. You know, maybe he would have been the person who would have been like, oh, gee, I'm sorry, and never done it again. But probably not. People like that really try to push the envelope as far as they can until you stop them. So, you know, you teach people how to treat you. That's huge. You also have to love your own company. That goes along with loving yourself. You know, like I said earlier, a lot of single people don't like being alone. They find it uncomfortable. And when I say alone, I don't just mean single, I mean like physically alone. Like, you know, I didn't mind being single. I liked myself. I was pretty happy. I had friends. I had a full life. You know, and my philosophy was I'd much rather be alone than in a bad relationship. And unfortunately, too many people would rather be in a bad relationship than alone. And the only reason for that is because they don't love themselves enough. They don't love their own company enough to be okay being alone. Like, once you get to know yourself, get to love yourself, you know, heck, I'm great company to be with. You know, I like myself. You know, that's how you are when you love yourself, and you're not afraid to be alone, either meaning being single or just like alone for the night or 2 nights or a weekend or whatnot. You have to love yourself, because again, that vibration you give out is good, positive vibration to other people, and then they are attracted to you and they want to be around you more. But also, even though you need to know and love your own company, you need to become really aware of how you feel when you're with other people. Meaning, I've heard too many people who've gone on 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates, a few dates, more dates, I don't know how long, many dates, a month, 2 months with someone that they've been dating. And they're like, I don't know, he's really nice, but I don't know, there's just something I can't put my finger on that just doesn't work for me. But they keep going and going and going out with a person, even though in their gut they know it's not their person and something just doesn't feel right. So don't force it. You know, just because a man or a woman is nice and you might have pleasant time in their company, that doesn't mean you have to keep dating them. You have to, you know, remember that it feels right when it's right. So if you're feeling like something's off, like maybe your logical, rational mind is saying, no, this is a really good person. I should really, really, really like them, but I kind of don't. Follow the gut feeling every time. I promise you. There have been many times in my life where my logic trumped my intuition, and that got me into trouble. I should have followed my intuition, because every time I did follow my intuition, that's when everything turned out fine. Like I look back at all my past relationships and I shake my head. I'm like, I knew it. I knew it wasn't going to last, and I can tell you why. I could have told you why back then. That was my gut instinct talking to me, and I ignored it. I ignored it. Even my ex-husband, I knew in my gut before we got married. I knew we were going to have problems, and I knew exactly what the problems were going to be. I thought I could work on them. I thought we could get through them. I tried my best, went to therapy, but one thing I learned in a relationship is that you have to have 2 people, both people put in 150% effort equally. If only one person is putting in the effort, then the relationship is doomed. So anyway, I'm not like blaming my ex-husband. He's a perfectly nice guy. We just were not a good match, you know? So, and then you also need to watch for red flags in other people. What do I mean by red flags? You know, red flags are those, you know, glaring, metaphorical, like, stop, bad, 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 bad. No, do not go any further. Yeah, those red flags. Going back to your gut instinct, you know, like, for instance, if, you know, say I was messaging a guy on a dating app and like he would respond with maybe just a couple of words, or he would go a couple of days in between talking. And I'm like, well, he's really nice. I kind of liked him, but then, I don't know, my gut was saying that the fact that he's going a couple of days in between is not a good sign, you know, and that's maybe either an indication that he doesn't like me that much, or you know, he's flaky, or he's just not emotionally available, or, you know, whatever it is. It doesn't even matter what the reason is. But if you see a red flag, something in your gut is not seeing, it's just not feeling right. Or it doesn't even have to be in your gut. It could just be some, you know, like the guy has canceled a date on you 3 times in a row. Well, that's not very respectful to you. That's a huge red flag. You know, and there's so many red flags out there that I'll talk about some other time, but, you know, look for those red flags and don't ignore them. That's the problem. People see them like I did in my past relationships. I saw them, but I ignored them. Do not ignore the red flags. Trust me. Once you ignore the red flags, then you're doomed, because they're not going to change. The person's not going to change. It's just not going to happen. So you're much better off just, seeing them, acknowledging them, watching and saying, well, it's probably a red flag, but let's see how it plays out. But you need to be conscious of those red flags, because then if there are too many of them, they're not going to be your perfect partner, right? It's not going to be a good relationship. Sure, you can have a relationship with them, but it's not going to really be like a good, healthy relationship. And then finally, don't settle. I beg of you, don't settle. It's so easy to settle. It's so easy to settle for a wide variety of reasons. I mean, I totally understand if like maybe you're financially hurting and you think, well, maybe if I'm with this person or we live together, then I won't be, you know, in such a bad financial situation. I get that. That's so tempting, right? You know, but that's not a really great reason to get in a relationship. I mean, maybe it is for you, but it's not going to be your perfect relationship if you're settling just because of something like that. Or maybe you're just lonely and so you're not really attracted to the guy or the woman, but oh, you know, it's companionship. He or she's better than no one, or my family really is pressuring me to get married, and well, I'm not really in love with this person, but you know, I don't want to disappoint my family, or whatever reason. There are countless reasons why people settle in relationships, and it's so easy to do. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen it, and every time somebody settles, they are A, disappointed, and B, usually regret it. So, you know, just remember, you need to be happy in life. Give yourself permission to be happy, please, because most people don't think they can be happy or they're allowed to be happy. And being in a good relationship is part of happiness. So love yourself enough, because you do deserve it and you are worthy of it. I know you are. All you need to do is believe that you are. So anyway, I hope in this episode I have really given you some tools so you can really start to think about how you can attract a perfect relationship, and most importantly, the perfect partner for you, because the perfect partner for me is not the perfect partner for you. And once you start thinking about these things, they really are little secrets that a lot of people don't know, and it really can change your life. So if you're really serious about finding the right person, you'll take these things into consideration, all right? Well, that is it for this episode. I really want to thank you guys again for joining me. I love being here with you. I hope you really have found a lot of wisdom and advice that you can not only use in your own life, but if you found it useful, please share the video with other people, share it on social media, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel because I'll have lots more coming your way. All right, until next time, I love you all and I appreciate you all. And until then, peace out.